Hello, it's Julie again with this week's Zephaniah Assembly. A story for you. Once upon a time, many years ago, I found myself in a car travelling from Bradford in Yorkshire across the Pennines to a house on the Wirral near Liverpool. Why would I make this journey, you may ask? Well, in that house lived my brother and my sister-in-law and my niece and my nephew. My niece, for the purposes of this story, you will need to know, is called Anna. She's my niece. And my nephew is called Jacob. And at the time of this story, many years ago, Jacob and Anna were still quite small. Now, I went to visit them. I went into their house, they welcomed me in, they sat me down on the sofa, they brought me a lovely cup of tea and probably some biscuits, because they're very good hosts. And then as we sat there, they said, "Let me tell you a story of something that happened to us just the other day." And that is the story I'm going to tell you now, a true story that happened in a little house on the Wirral in England many years ago. Are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. Then I'll begin. I don't know whether this ever happens in your house, but do you ever get allowed, maybe as a bit of a treat, maybe not, but are you ever allowed to eat your dinner in front of the telly? Feels like quite a treat, doesn't it? You see, occasionally, when Anna and Jacob, my niece and nephew, were small, they were allowed to have their dinner in front of the TV for a treat. And on this day, their mum, she came in, she said, "Do you know what? You've been so good today. I'm going to let you have your dinner in the front room in front of the TV as a treat. Even better," she said, "me and your dad, we're going to have dinner in the other room, so it will be just you having a kids' dinner in front of kids' TV, whatever you want to watch, in the front room." Magic. Brilliant. So they got a little table set up in the front room that they could both sit at, and they laid it with their knife and fork, and their mum went in the kitchen and she cooked the dinner, and the kids were really excited, Anna and Jacob, very excited about having their dinner in the front room. I imagine they probably had a little conversation about what they were going to watch on the TV. I imagine Anna probably won because she was the oldest, and that's often how it goes, isn't it? In households, the oldest wins. And they put the telly on, they sat down on their chairs at the table, and they waited until their mum brought in 2 plates full of the tastiest looking dinner they could ever have imagined. I don't know what your favourite food is, but I bet at least some of you would have loved to have eaten the dinner that was sitting on those plates. She brought them in. She put the dinner plates down on the table, and the kids looked. Do you know what they had? They had sausages, some peas, and, most importantly for this story, they had a lovely creamy white fluffy mound each of mashed potato. Oh, I'm feeling a bit hungry. Are you feeling hungry? Definitely sounds like a pretty tasty dinner. So they sat there at the table in their front room looking at these lovely plates full of sausages and peas and mashed potato. And their mum popped the telly, made sure it was right and ready for them, and off she went into the other room with their dad to eat her dinner, and she left them to it. Now they're sitting, eating dinner, eating sausages, eating peas, that mashed potato, in it goes, watching TV. I don't know exactly what happens next, but for some reason Jacob gets bored. Jacob gets bored a lot, or he always used to. It was one of his favourite things to say would be, "I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored." And it gets really quite boring when he used to say that. But this time, he came up with a solution to his boredom himself, because he looked at Anna, his big sister, and he said, "Anna?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "Shall I put mashed potato on the telly?" And Anna, his big sister, his example of how to behave, she looked at him and she said, "Not a good plan." But he did. You see, Jacob, he got his mashed potato in his hand and he did smear some of it on the TV. I imagine some of you are sitting there feeling pretty horrified. It was not his best plan. However, he didn't stop at the TV. He thought, I don't know whether he looked around the room and thought, this room is pretty dull looking. What it really needs is a little bit of a makeover, redecorating. I'm going to make this room look beautiful by redecorating it with mashed potato. Uh-oh. And he set to work. He picked up handfuls of mashed potato and he started redecorating, smearing it all over the room. I imagine he thought he was hilarious. I imagine his sister Anna thought he was hilarious. I can just imagine them sitting there having a good laugh about it until they heard, coming towards the door of the room, footsteps. Uh-oh. And then they watched as the door began to open. And there, come to clear the plates away, stood their mum. Oh no. Now they're in trouble. Can you imagine what your mum's face or your grown-up's face would look like if they came into the room and found you had redecorated it with mashed potato? I bet some of them would be pretty cross. Wherever you are watching this, take a moment and pull the angry face of an adult in your house discovering mashed potato all over the front room. There are some scary grown-ups out there. Jacob and Anna's mum had a look around her front room. There was mashed potato everywhere. There was mashed potato on the table. There was mashed potato on the chair. There was mashed potato on the floor. There was mashed potato on the telly. There was even mashed potato on the dog. And she looked at it and she said those 3 words that we dread hearing grown-ups say. She said, "Who did this?" And Anna, big sister that she was, she looked at Jake and she pointed him and she said, "It was him." Uh-oh. Now Jacob was in trouble. His mum told him off. She made him sit on the step, the naughty step, for a few minutes. He had to say sorry. And then, worst of all, she said he had to help her clean it up. So they rolled up their sleeves and they set to work. And they cleaned it up. They cleaned up the mashed potato off the table. They cleaned up the mashed potato off the chair. They cleaned up the mashed potato off the floor. They cleaned up the mashed potato off the telly. That bit was quite hard work, let me tell you, because tellies, when they're on, get a little bit warm, and the mashed potato had dried out and gone a bit warm and crusty, so they had to give it a bit of a scrub, but it did come off. They did not have to clean the mashed potato off the dog because he had eaten it. Good old dog. But they did clean it all up. And they were telling me this story as I sat in their front room, exactly where the mashed potato incident had occurred. And I looked around me, and you know what? There was no mashed potato anywhere. Nowhere. Not even like a little tiny bit in the corner going yellow and crusty. None at all. It had all gone. And if they hadn't told me about the mashed potato incident, I would never have been able to tell. Jacob, in this story, to me, is a bit of a hero. You might think that sounds strange, because why would someone who decorates their front room with mashed potato and get in trouble, why would they be a hero to me? But here is why. Sometimes I do stuff wrong and I make mistakes. Sometimes I do something stupid and I know I shouldn't do it and I do it anyway. And sometimes I do things wrong and I make mistakes without even knowing it. I don't mean to, it just happens. We all do that sometimes, don't we? We all make mistakes. And when I do that, when I get things wrong, I like to remember Jacob. And I like to think, well, what a mess he made with his mashed potato. But wasn't he able to clean it up and start again? The mashed potato didn't stay there as a permanent reminder of the silly decision he'd made. He was able to clean it up and put things right. And that's what I like to remember, because we will all make mistakes in life. And when we do, isn't it good to know that we can clean them up and start again? One of the best things, if we do make a mistake and we need to clean something up and put things right, is if there's someone to help us. And actually, wasn't it great that Jacob's mum, even though she was cross with him, helped him to clean up the mess that he had made? It's something that Jesus did a lot in the Bible. He gave people lots of second chances. He gave them the opportunity to put things right and start again. That's something that we should all remember. Next time you mess up, next time you make a mistake or do something wrong, remember Jacob and his mashed potato, and remember that you can put things right and say sorry and get a fresh start. And if you're not in Jacob's position, if you're the person who, like Jacob's mum, was upset by something that somebody else did, maybe we could all be generous to one another and help one another to clean up and put right the messes that we make and start again. Mistakes don't have to be the end of the world. We can always clean them up, start again, and have a fresh start. I'm going to leave you with a song which is sung by my friend John Froud, and it has some words and some actions, so you might be able to join in with the actions from wherever you're watching this. And as you're reading the words and doing the actions and listening to John, maybe that song could be a little prayer of thanks that however much we mess up, however many mistakes we make, God gives us the hope that we can clean them up, say sorry, and have a fresh start. Brilliant. I will leave you with the song. One last thing. If you go home tonight and you get mashed potato on your dinner plate, don't redecorate the front room with it. It's not a good idea. See you later.
You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. Show me love, deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around. whole world knows. Jesus lives inside of me from my head down to my toes. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up, turn me around, show me love deep and wide. Give me joy that bubbles up and overflows from well inside. I'm gonna sing it out, shout it out, till the whole world knows. Jesus lives inside of me from my head down to my toes. You bring me hope when I'm down. Pick me up,